Yeah, good morning. We are doing the Bhagavad Gita and we are on chapter 6. The verse is 10. Now, we were talking about what a yogi should be doing and how, what, where, why, everything that a yogi is supposed to do. Now, when we think about a yogi, we are normally thinking of a person wearing, orange color clothes, going to the Himalayas, sitting somewhere and doing meditation and pranayama and all those kinds of things. He is deeply into it, and what is he supposed to do? How is he supposed to do? Not necessarily a person needs to be having orange color clothes, should have gone to some place where he is doing, different kinds of activities. Not necessary like that, but this is the classic definition of a yogi. But we will try to adapt it as much as we can towards our material world, because there are lots of people in this world who are actually interested in becoming a yogi. Yogi doesn't mean renouncing the world and running away from it. Please remember this. We are not talking about a person who is a sannyasi. A yogi can be a sannyasi also, not that he cannot be. I am not saying that he cannot be. A sannyasi is a yogi. Sannyasi is a yogi because he has to follow that path. So the path of the yoga, as prescribed by Sri Krishna, we are just going to touch on that subject. So we are doing chapter 6 from the Bhagavad Gita, a dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, and this is verse 10. Living in seclusion all by himself, the yogi who has controlled his mind and body and is free from desires and void of possession should constantly engage his mind in meditation. Now, this is the classic explanation of a yogi. He has to live all by himself. Today's day and age, to live all by himself in some mountain top where there are so many problems, the yogis of the past never had to carry a passport with them. They didn't have to carry visas with them. They didn't have to take permission of the army because they are going to the Himalayas and sitting over there. In today's day and age, every place is infiltrated by different people from different countries. There is a big problem. So where do you find such a secluded place? It's a very big question mark. I was asked this many years ago. I said, how do I find a secluded place? So I said, you are a city dweller who is used to working for some big multinational corporation. There is a problem of trying to find some place and going away from your duties. So you mean to say that you are supposed to run away? I wouldn't advise that. So the answer was, why don't you find a room in your own house which you can say, this is my man cave or this is my woman cave? You understand? Stay in that place. Do your meditation, do whatever you want to in that place which is out of bounds for every person. You are not going to be disturbed over there. Nobody comes to that room, nobody goes except you. And let it be in a place where there is pin drop silence. So you got to have this space for yourself. But then the problem comes that you have to go to work and you have to attend the office. Then how do you do that? Well, you may be attending office 8 hours, 10 hours a day. This is in the past, before coronavirus. Okay. So after coronavirus, you are only in the man cave. You are not going outside of it also, because outside of it are all lions and tigers sitting over there in the form of your family. Okay. So you can't go out also. So this is prior to the coronavirus days. So you go to your office, come back, get inside, do whatever that is necessary. So going in seclusion is the word that you got to pick up. Seclusion doesn't mean being in the company of other people. Now today in the morning when I was doing the Ramakrishna Paramahansa's Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, in that it was mentioned, stay away from women and gold, stay away from women and gold. I mean, it was just continuously in one page, many times it came. And I explained that it is not necessarily women and gold. It is men and desires also, all kinds of desires. So nowadays you will find that if you go to any of these ashrams which are spread across India, the percentage of women has shot through the roof. Do you know the reason why? See, I will give you the understanding. Way back in time, the marriages were somewhere, they are called child marriages. Before independence, there were child marriages. And the boy and the girl, before they were teens, they were married. Before they were 13, 12, I mean, they were married way before that. They were child marriages. And by the time they were consummating, it would be 16, 17. They would be having children before the age of 20. And they would have finished having children and all that by the time they were 25. And the man was working. He might be working in a shop or some place, I don't know, wherever he was doing, whatever he was doing. And by the time he was 40, 45, he was ready for that vanaprastha. Because all this woman and gold thing was over for him by 40. Imagine that person, this young person, getting married at the age of 13, having their first child at the age of 18, 19 or 20. By the time they are 40 years old, their child would be 20 and 22 years old. Don't you think so? So the vanaprastha was good enough at that time. Today's day and age, the whole thing has got reversed out. There is a problem in today's day and age. The problem is this. Man wants to study. I'm talking in general. I'm not going to pinpoint anybody, any particular, type. But let us see what happens. They can only complete their schooling by 16. And then they would complete their college by 20, 22, 24, 26. So the college doesn't end at 20 also. Earlier there were 4 years of college and you got a bachelor's and you were happy about it. And you would say, I am so highly educated. Today bachelor's degrees are dime a dozen. Every person is a bachelor. So you have to go for specialized studies. So by the time you're 24 and 26, you're still studying. So where is the time for getting married and having children? Remember, there it was 13 when they got married. Now even at 26 people are not married. Then they search. By the time they are in college, they are looking out for mates. The man and the woman are looking out for mates. And they are disillusioned to the core by the time they are 25 years old. I can guarantee you this much. They have had number of affairs, number of link-ups, number of things, and they are totally disillusioned by it. So they are looking for somebody whom they can be with in the future. And they get married at the age of 30, 32 and all that. And when is the first child coming? They still say at the age of 32, I will wait for a few more years because see, I am in this position. I am doing this, work. So give me a few more years, then I will have children. And by the time they are 33 and 34, they are going for artificial insemination and all these, in vitro fertilizations and this and that. Can you imagine? That is the reason why all these places are flourishing. Flourishing to that extent where a man is thinking, oh, why am I not having kids? And then they paying through their nose, want to have a kid by the time they are 36 and 40. Now imagine this situation. There at the age of 40 in the past, a person was taking Vanaprastha. Here at the age of 40, the person may be having their first child. How ridiculous has this become? Can you imagine this whole story changing completely? And now I will tell you why women come into spiritual. By the time they are 20, 21, 22, 23, they have gone through multiple heartbreaks. They have seen that every man in this world is only interested in one thing. They are not interested in everlasting relationships, which, most of the people have thought of, all those storybooks that they might have read in the past. There is no happily ever after. So these women and young men, they are thoroughly disillusioned. Disillusioned to the core by the time they are 25 years old. Their studies have disillusioned them. Their jobs have disillusioned them. Their relationships have disillusioned them to so much that by the time they are 25, 26 and 27 years of age, they have thought of doing all kinds of nonsensical stuff in their world. They want to run away to the Himalayas. And I am not joking. I have met so many youngsters who literally want to run away. They tell me, Guruji, I am not interested in this world. You know what? I am thoroughly disillusioned by it. I just want to go somewhere. Why? Because they have gone through multiple heartaches. Their companies are literally sitting on top of their head. We want performance. We want performance. And by the time they are 26, 27 or 28 or 30, they have changed at least 4 jobs. And this is the action which leads a lot of young men and women towards the spiritual. Now the unfortunate part comes over here. Spirituality as per the yogic norms, the way in which it is described in the Shrutis, and the way it is supposed to be done is completely different than what is being taught today. The youngsters are told, you need to have peace of mind, you need to have tranquility, you need to have this, you need to have that, you need to have a good body. In all this, there is no God. For them, God is some strange creature which nobody has heard of. After the Macaulay's system, which came into existence, the Britishers brought it into India. There were no scriptures being taught in schools. Even this person, that is me, I have gone to a school where I did not even know what is Bhagavad Gita. I did not know Bhagavad Gita. I did not know what is the meaning of the word Vedas. It was a strange word when I heard it. So what is this Vedas? So the educational system today is making Britishers or Europeans or Americans or all the, achievers in this world. They are making us that. And that is the reason why nobody understands what is yoga. Nobody understands what is God. Nobody has any clue, because in school there was no such subject. And that is the reason why by the time they are 25 and 26, they are searching for something. I am searching for something. I mean, imagine everybody is saying, I am searching for something elusive. What is this elusive, exclusive you are talking about? Nobody knows. And then there are these high-fangled gurus who will say, don't worry, I will teach you yoga. I will teach you meditation. I will teach you pranayama. And after learning all this, you will have a peaceful and a tranquil life. And by the way, those who have gone to such kind of places come out of it and they are thoroughly disillusioned after that. They are disillusioned to what extent you will see. At such places, they come in connect with youngsters of their same age. Now they think, oh, this person is also spiritual. I am also spiritual. So maybe we will make a great team. Well, what spirituality are you talking about? Yoga? That is not spirituality. You see, it is like this. Now you want to become Miss Universe or Miss World or Miss whatever, for which you have to eat properly. You have to do exercise properly. You have to diet. You have to do so many things. You have to keep your body in perfect shape. And you should be able to carry off all kinds of garments and no garments also. You know? So you got to have a great body. So one of the things is doing your exercise on a regular basis. In spirituality also, to keep a healthy mind and a body so that you can progress on the spiritual, yoga and other things are prescribed. The yoga means the heart yoga, which everybody does. You know, breathing and sitting in some postures and stuff like that. It is required because you cannot focus your mind. So this is the distorted version which has come about. And by the time the person is 40, he is disillusioned not only with life, his relationships, his companies, and every other thing. And you know, that person then decides, what am I going to do now? I have got kids who are so young, you know, they are 5 years and 4 years and all that. I got to earn for them. I have to stay with this woman, and the woman says I have to stay with this idiot even if he is just lying on the sofa and flipping channels. I just have to take it. And both these parents of that child are a very bad example to the child. And what is the child learning? Nothing. He is learning how to be a wastrel. He is learning how my parents fight. He is learning that these ways of this world only, you know, you should have a lot of money. So there is a change in the scenario because of these kind of influences. So the old form of yoga, now do you remember me telling you at the beginning, I said the practical application of this verse doesn't happen because there are so many impediments today. One, we can't find a place. If I have to go to the Himalayas, I have to wonder whether that Himalayas is in India or in China or in Pakistan. I don't even know. And then I will be told, oh, you have to take a pass. You know, you can't cross from here. What? Yeah, I have to take army permission. I want to become a sannyasi. I want to sit in meditation. That person will look at you and say, you want to sit in meditation? Go home. Get lost. And then he will give me some address of some ashram. Why don't you go to this ashram in Rishikesh or Haridwar and stay over there? Yeah, there are lots of foreigners also. You can pay in Indian rupees, of course. Yeah, you can see nice sceneries around you. That is what these people teach us. And this is where the whole thing goes downhill. So when I was telling my disciple many years ago, I said, find a place in your own house. A location where nobody is going to disturb you. That is your Himalayas. Because in today's day and age, it is impossible to find the Himalayas anywhere. You go and sit in that Pangong Tso lake and they will say, this part belongs to China. I don't even know which part I am in. And they're talking of fingers. You got it or no? This much fingers is this one is having, that much fingers. Oh, come on. So there is no free world out there. And you are dependent on food. Everybody is dependent on food. So you are going to sit in the Himalayas where? Every cave will have a problem. You know what is the big problem in the cave? In olden times, there were wildlife over there. Wildlife means there will be a bhalu over there. A bear will be there. Oh, like that. Or there will be some jackals and tigers and God knows all those kind of things were there in the past. And today, who are those wild animals? Tourists. You understand? Tourists, they will come inside the cave. Oh, Vyas Muni's cave. Oh, this one's cave. Let me carve my name over there. Sir, why are you comparing yourself to Vyasdev? Carving your name over there or writing it with a chalk or whatever that you have? These wild animals are tourists. They don't leave you anywhere. They will come to know somehow there is some Babaji sitting in some cave. You know, I was talking to one very big spiritual master and he was telling me this story. He says, you know what? I had the most difficult time. I was searching for a cave and I couldn't find it. Because at every place I went, these tourist fellows used to come running after me. They say, Babaji stays in this cave. We got to go and take his darshan. What darshan? I want to be alone, you idiots. Get out from here. And they will bring some kind of stuff, you know. They, Babaji, I bought you Maggi noodles, you know, it's very cold. Maggi noodles for you. Babaji doesn't eat Maggi noodles. So we had a hearty laugh on this and I said, so, there is no point in going anywhere, I can tell you. Assure you this much. Tourists will hound you wherever you go. So finding a secluded place has become painful for you. You got it? It is not possible. Do you know how many years I have been trying to find a place where there is no noise? I keep on searching. But either there is some construction noise or there is a washing machine noise or something or the other is going on. So finding a secluded place so that you can practice. So today's day and age, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, if he was there, he would not have said woman and gold. He might have said men and the markets. You know, men and markets are the biggest pain. What markets? Could be stock market, could be any market. Doesn't matter. So the whole thing has changed nowadays. So a woman is wanting to become a yogini, and here you have all the men trying to entice her. And she has gone and had, number of, heartbreaks in her life that she's totally disgusted with it. And she says, I don't care for these people. Look at the size of this guy. He's just showing his body like this. But you do like this, that fellow will fall down. She has become more capable than a man. There are so many startups done by women. It is unimaginable. There are startups being run by women. They are funding it. They are financing it. They are into so many fields nobody has ever thought of. So you can't say woman and gold. No, now. See, during Ramakrishna Paramahansa's time, he could have said woman and gold are the factors which will push you in all this direction. But today, I can't say woman and gold. All right? So your material world is going to push you in that direction of becoming a seeker. So seeker has to find a secluded place. A yogi has to control his mind and body. Controlling the mind and body is very, very important. Now when you listen to these words, you will understand what is this mind and body and why is it so important to control that. You see, body, this body of ours, is a repository of multiple things. Those who are joining me for the Uddhav Gita Satsang will remember a verse where I talked about heaven and hell. Those who remember, I was just doing it Saturday, Sunday. That one is in the morning, 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning, Saturdays and Sundays. There I mentioned very clearly, what is heaven? The heaven is the rise of sattva in your mind. Krishna tells Uddhava this. Krishna is Almighty God. He is telling Uddhava this. There is no heaven, by the way. Heaven is the rise of sattva in your mind. And the rise of tamas is hell. The moment you become tamasic in nature, you are in hell. You don't require any devil over there. You are the devil yourself. You know how the devil is working? Don't worry, dude. It's okay. You can relax. It's only 7:30 in the morning. You should get up at 10:30 and 11. Today is a holiday, Any which way, coronavirus, who cares? The boss is there, not there, who cares? That is tamas. Today morning, I was reading one news where the person is wearing a tie and a coat and all that and sitting in front of the camera, and his colleague sends him a picture saying, "You have very nice underwears." He was not aware that there was a mirror behind which was sending the image of his underwear, because he was not wearing anything below. Imagine a boss wearing a coat and a tie and sitting very nicely, and he's only in his undergarments. I mean, how stupid does that sound? That is called tamas. The rise of tamas in your mind is going to hell. That is hell. So did you get the point? There is no heaven and hell somewhere outside. Okay, we'll go on a journey far, far away into the outer space and search for hell and heaven. There is no such place. Okay? USS Enterprise or something like that. Tomorrow you will say, I also want to go. There is no such thing. The heaven and the hell is inside. In that you have to say, honey, I shrunk the kids. Go inside. So, understand this. The body is an important source of your passage to spirituality. And body is an important destination for you when you overcome it and go inwards. So, overcoming the excesses of the body is so very important. The excesses of the bodies are what? The amount of preening that you may do for yourself. Maybe you want to wear fancy clothes. Maybe you want to go and cut your hair. I have seen people cutting their hair. Guys, they go and cut their hair and they pay $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So what are they doing? They're just snipping. That's it. And they put all kinds of that gooey stuff on their hair, and then they will sit like this in the chair over there, and somebody is massaging them. This is the kind of a guys you have. Metrosexual, they call them. There was a word 10 years ago. They was called metrosexual, because these guys are interested in good face. And see, look at my hair. Look at my hair. Every time when I think of this, I tell my disciples, I say, you know what? I would rather go and sit under a peepal tree and get my hair cut. All those people who sit with those ustaras over there. And they will cut it in less than 50 rupees. I look at these rates of these great fellows and they said, my haircut cost. You see, when it went from 50 to 60, I had a heart attack. And now that fellow is telling me 80 rupees, sir. 80 rupees for a haircut for me. It becomes like that. Got the answer? Here, they will just trim a little. Chick, chick, chick. They do like this. The minimum is 500 rupees. How do you do that? So do you understand body consciousness? This is called body consciousness. I got to have good hair. I got to have that beautiful, beard like this. What? What are you talking about? Beard. Eyebrows. Men do eyebrows. I was aghast. I said, men do eyebrows? Yeah. For me, it was a big shocker. I was not even ready for it. So, body, you have to overcome it. These are the stupid things that you need not waste your money, time and energy in. You don't have to pay 500 rupees for snipping 2 hair. Okay? It's not important. It's not important to go to a gym. Sir, go for a walk. 5 kilometers walk is more than enough for you. If you go to the gym, your wrong body parts are going to get, bulkier. You should know that. Because you are anyway going to sit in one place and you want to do this and this and this. Why? Because you get to sit. All right. Have you noticed that? People love to do those activities where they can relax one part of the body. And I am not joking. I have seen the gyms. How do people work over there? And they will say, put 20 kgs. Okay, now put 25 kgs. Okay. Why they are sitting over there? Because in front of them are those cycles. What do you call them? I don't know. Or there is that treadmill. And there are some very good looking people on the treadmill. So it is very nice to do behind over there. Sir, if you want to be in spiritual, first body consciousness out of the window. Okay? And then your eyes, shut them. It's not important to watch everything. What are you? A ferret or something like that? Huh? Like that? What are you doing? In Mumbai, there is a very dirty word. I can't say it also online. So what are you doing, man? Your eyes, you keep them to yourself. Your ears, you keep them closed. Don't have to keep on hearing nonsensical stuff. So control your sense organs and your organs of action. Organs of action are hand, legs, and the rest of them. You know that, no? The biggest organ of action is the tongue. You got to control your tongue first. Blabber, 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 blabber. Don't. So these are the three things which are extremely important. All right? Find a secluded place. Control your body and the sense organs in it. And the third one is called mind. Why is your mind talking? I think I did my, 10th push-up, I think. No, it must be 12th. What are you doing? People, when they go for this yoga, they have a very strange way of doing yoga. There are certain asanas which are very difficult to do. You know why? Because they get body aches over there. So which is the best asana of all? Shavasana. And people are fast asleep in Shavasana, by the way. Sir, Shavasana doesn't mean you have to fall asleep. Okay? But Shavasana is the best asana. This is the way in which yoga is misused. So, stay in a secluded place, control your body and your mind also. Cut it down. Don't have to think too much. So now, apply this in the material world. Where can you sit? Sit in a closed room. Okay, sit in a closed room without any sound. So your eyes are anyway not going to wander. That, please, let me remind you, don't put any pictures on the walls. Okay, and don't have any of those things on your phone also, because you will want to scroll then. Don't do that also. Shut your phone down. Shut it down completely. Don't have anything on the walls except gods. Okay, if they are there, very good. Rest of the things, don't. So your eyes will not wander here and there. Your ears will not do anything. Nose. They are saying nowadays that you need to put all these nice scented stuff and all that. One thing you got to understand, don't put any of this scented stuff in your rooms. The reason is very simple. They work on the olfactory glands. All right? And the olfactory glands triggers the brain. So there is a whole load of activity that happens. And in meditation, we are not supposed to have activity. So why are you putting those incense sticks which are, oh, I love this incense, Let me put this beautiful lemongrass oil and burn this candle over there. That is the way of the companies making money. You don't fall for it, please. I have bought this very beautiful yoga mat from that neighboring India store. Okay. It's a fantastic India store. I buy it from there. They have cut you fantastically. For the mat which doesn't even cost few rupees, they have charged you thousands of bucks. Don't do that. We are discussing over here how you have to sit. Then you have to cut down all your sensory perceptions. Nothing to see, nothing to hear, nothing to smell, nothing to taste. Don't keep anything which is a tasty stuff around you. No, I have all these boxes over here. Oh, one has got this, nice farsan over here. Farsan? You're having farsan in your meditation room? For what? No, don't worry. I have little when I feel very nice about it. Don't. Then, sense of touch. There is no need for sitting on some fancy place, okay? When you have taken care of all this and you have done your 6 kilometer or 5 kilometer walk in the morning and you are very happy about it, exercise is not needed. You can sit in this place, no problem. So now you are in a secluded place. So when my disciple asked me this question, I said, do this and take your time out. This is your me time with yourself. There, what desires are going to come? You see, you have to make your mind free of desires and void of possessions. Now, free of desires. We are talking about the conventional yogi. He is anyway supposed to go to the mountains free of any desires, because in the mountains, what are you going to do? Nothing. And free of possessions. He is not going to carry anything. Even if he carries one extra walking stick, you understand, there is somebody out there to take it away. So why go after that? So don't carry fancy walking sticks and all that. But now we come back to this yogi who is sitting quietly in his room. So what does that person do? He has to be free from desires. So I told my disciple, I said, you know what? What is the maximum that you want? I want an iPhone, iPad, I want an iMac. Very good, buy it. But don't go and buy continuously every year, okay? Now for the next 5 years, don't change. Leave it like that. Okay, very good. So you have fulfilled that desire, now you don't have a desire. Because what is higher than iPhone? Nothing. Isn't it? So you have got your iPhone, now you have nothing to worry about. Oh, you might have bought iPhone 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that. 6 Plus you bought? Very good. Now let it 6 Plus remain till iPhone 12 comes. So how many years have gone? 5-6 years have gone. So now you don't have a desire for a new phone, correct? Very good. You don't have a desire for iPads or anything like that. Very good. Now what else is left? Clothes. As a man, how many pairs of clothes do you require? Guru, you tell me. I said 2-3 pairs of jeans. Absolutely correct. A couple of t-shirts. Nothing like it. Rest of the stuff, there are lots of these homes where you can just pick your stuff and give it away. How many pairs of shoes do you require? 1 or 2 pairs is enough. So got the answer? No possessions. What possession do you have? Except for your iPhone, nothing else. Because you are not going to carry your Mac inside and other things. It is for that other working space. Working space is different than meditating space. Because this, iPhone is required for what? I will give you an answer. First and foremost, you don't know the Vedas and the shlokas and all that. So what do? You search for okay, I will put on this song over here. And so you find Madhurashtakam. Pandit Jasraj Madhurashtakam is very good. He sings very nicely. Let us put Madhurashtakam because you don't know M of Madhurashtakam. So let Pandit Jasraj sing for you. Okay? So Pandit Jasraj is singing for you. The rest of the Suktams, somebody else is there. Search for it. But shut down the rest of it. Nowadays you can download these things and keep it in your phone and just play that thing. That's it. So I told him like that. I said, this is the way. Just listen to all the good stuff, all the good songs that you can think of. Songs doesn't mean songs, movie songs and all that. Songs means these kind of things. Listen to it constantly. Then what happens? Mirabai's bhajans, perfect. Tukaram Maharaj, absolutely perfect. This is what you can do. So there are no possessions and you are sitting in one place. You should constantly engage the mind in meditation. Meditate on me. In that room, just keep one statue of Krishna. See, this is one book where Krishna says clearly, meditate on me. What is he saying? Is he saying go meditate on some god somewhere? No. Because Krishna is the ultimate, the final destination. So if he is the final destination, why do you need anything else? Just put my statue in front of you and sit over there. Doesn't matter. And what kind of a statue? See, just now though I cannot read those verses, but I will tell you something. Please join my Uddhav Gita Satsangs. Okay, Saturday, Sundays, 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning, Indian Standard Time. We are going to do an entire chapter on how to do these prayers and how to do these things. There I will give you a detailed explanation. What kind of statues you can have, how you can pray, what grass, what this, what that, I will tell you. And it is not necessary. You may be in America, you may be in Africa, you may be in Uganda, doesn't matter to me. I will tell you what are the alternates. So you will be also in a path. The path where you can understand God properly and don't have to go to any mountain cave of yours. Your cave is in your house. Take out one room exclusively for this purpose and sit over there. You are full of yourself. Please understand, you don't need another person to tell you anything. So, this is how I showed you how you can adapt this verse to your life. Because today, I can't find those places. You also can't find those places. And there is no place on earth where tourists are not going to come. So don't bother your head about it. Okay? So one of my students in America asked me, Guruji, where can I go? I said, you go to all those mountains that you see, big mountains. I don't know what they are called. Arizona or some such kind of a place. Go to those places and sit. I can't go there. Why? Because don't know. Maybe they don't allow or do whatever. You can't sit in some cave over there. Maybe you can't. I don't know. So you sit in your house, no? That's it. So we will do verse 11. This is the Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verse 11. Having firmly set his seat in a spot which is free from dirt and other impurities, with the sacred kusa grass, a deer skin and a cloth spread thereon, one upon the other, kusa below, deer skin in the middle, and cloth uppermost, neither very high nor very low. Please don't kill any animals. At the beginning of the film, they come, with one statement, no animal was harmed while making this film. I will also tell you very nicely, please do not harm any animals and try to skin them for whatever they have. So otherwise you'll say, Guruji, you read deer skin, no? So yeah, deer skin I can get. If I don't get that deer skin, then maybe I can get some other deer person skin. No, don't do that. You don't have to get anybody's skin. Got it? I will explain. This verse adaptable to today's day and age. If you are staying in a hot place, you get mats, M-A-T-S, mats. Very good. There is one student of mine, she makes these beautiful mats made of what is called as a khas. Khus, Khus. You can go and look it up. She gave me a mat and it is really very beautiful. She manufactures them, I believe. Now, this khus is a coolant. When you pour water on top of it, it gives a very beautiful earthly smell. A very, very nice smell. Those who have come to my place, my ashram anytime, have you all got the smell of the beautiful agarbattis that I put over here? I don't use any chemical agarbattis. These agarbattis are made from KHUS. It's a naturally occurring grass. GRASS. It is not some artificial stuff. Even the camphor which is used is from natural resources. We try to bring as many natural stuff as possible. So, today's day and age, kusa grass may be difficult to find. But there are people who can provide you with this kind of mats. You can ask them. Alright? They may be able to provide you with it. So you spread a mat below. Don't go for any skin and all that. So otherwise it is written over here, go for some deer skin and all. Deer skin, please don't keep. All those forest people will come and arrest you. So don't even keep animal skins with you. No elephant skins. No tiger skins, no lion skins, no animal skins. Got it? Not even cow hide. Don't even do that. Because it is not good. Harming animals is not good. Period. So we come to the next. So put this mat below. Keep an insulatory layer of wool or something like that. You get wool, thin wool, which is again natural. Get a small woolen mat, keep next on top of it, and on top of it a cotton one. Make that as your baitak. Please don't go and buy those mats from outside. The fancy ones which they sell. Please don't even buy. This is good enough for you. So if you can sit in your cave at your home, not anywhere else, please remember, olden times, yes, they could go to the mountains, search for kusa grass and all those kind of things and sit over there. Today, I won't even advise that for you. So you do this if you can. If you can't, just put one cotton, dari that is there available and sit on top of it. A simple cotton dari. If you go to fancy locations, a small cotton dari, they charge you 5,000 and 10,000 rupees saying that, all the artisans have made it. Utter nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I'm not promoting stores over here. I'm not promoting, but I will tell you where you can get the cheapest and the best handmade without any chemical processing done on it. There is a store here. Those who come to Bangalore, there is a store here called Desi. DESI. It is made by village people and authentic stuff is used. Their mats will come for 60 rupees, 80 rupees, 100 rupees. Whereas the same in all those fancy stores, they cost you 1,000, 5,000 and God knows what. So buy that mat. If you want a bigger one, you will get it for 800 or 900 rupees. And I am not joking about it. This is the truth. They use cotton, absolute bare cotton, and they use vegetables as dyes. Vegetable dyes, pure vegetable dyes. The kurtas which these people sell, other people will sell for, I think, thousands of rupees, 2,000 bucks and all. What? These people sell for 500 and 600 rupees. The artisans are actually making it. So I am happy with what they do. So if you can get a mat like this, sit on that mat. Nothing like it. You don't have to find some kusa grass. And Having firmly set his seat in a spot which is free from dirt. You please clean your dirty room, okay? Ensure that it is perfectly clean. See, even during coronavirus time, people are saying, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. And they have this disinfectants and all that. I can tell you one thing for sure. Take simple soap, SOAP soap, okay? And hold your hand underwater for 20 seconds. That is enough. You don't have to go for some fancy kind of a and then do that. Nothing is required. What you are doing when you go to these stores is you are putting alcohol on it. Alcohol. Huh? When you use that disinfectant, when you go inside some place, that is alcohol. Simple hand wash is enough. Do that. Clean the place up with simple soap. Dry it off properly. Place has to be dry. Then sit. People will say, can I sit on a chair? Where if you have a back problem, this problem, that problem, please sit on a chair. What can I say? Do what you feel is right. But this is the way in which you can do. So, you got it? Having firmly set his seat in a spot which is free from dirt and other impurities, with kusa grass, a deer skin and a cloth, I have given you the clear understanding. In your own house, you can do this. In your separate room, please do this. We move to the verse 12, chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita, verse 12. And occupying that seat, concentrating the mind and controlling the functions of the mind and the senses, he should practice yoga for self-purification. So now you sit very nicely in a comfortable position. Now, some people, they don't know how to fold the legs. Try. Does not matter. Very simple folding of the legs is sufficient. Because I know you work 24/7 on your laptops, all that, and you are seeing so many things. Maybe you are not used to it, but try folding your legs. Try. So fold your legs properly. Concentrate the mind and control the functions of the mind and the senses. Concentrate the mind. First, concentration of the mind doesn't happen with people. Many a times they have asked me this question, Guruji, how do I concentrate my mind? Well, you have learned concentration long ago. Do you know where you learned concentration? No concentration camps over here. Concentration on your mind, you have done it when you were giving competitive examinations and when you are trying to write your SSC or whatever, that 10th standard or whatever they call it nowadays. That examination, you remember coming and getting 92, 95% marks? How did you get it? By concentration. Yeah, you went and by hearted so much you cannot even. Now everything is released. Like you by heart so much. You come up to your this level. And then in the examination hall you go and puke it out. Book like that. And everything comes out. And after that you are totally empty. And then, finished. 95%, 98% marks I got. Yeah, I am going to a good college. If you ask the same person, can you please give me the square root of some number? Square root? What is square root? Do you mean to say I have to divide it or do I have to multiply with it? See, this is the problem with today's day and age. The children, they know how to concentrate, but they don't know how to retain. Retention is a problem. So you need a mind which soaks in, isn't it? So that means you cannot say tomorrow that I don't know concentration. Got the answer? In your SSC, in your BTech, MTech or whatever tech or no tech or whatever you have done, have you not concentrated? And there are people who will say, Guruji, I don't know how to concentrate. I got only third class in my SSC. I paid all those fees, and I got my certificate also. Okay. Do you concentrate while watching Rajinikanth's picture? Yeah, 3 hours of concentration. That dishum, he does all the cigarette thing and all that. You also know how to do that. And nowadays they will say, Guruji, you are old man. You don't understand. You're not supposed to talk about Rajnikant. Talk about Nani. Oh, sorry, Nani. We. Of course, we. Yeah, that guy, Nani. Don't tell us about these old fellows. They are 60, 70. I don't know how many years old. Again, the same thing if I talk about Shah Rukh Khan. Guruji, no Shah Rukh Khan. Nowadays, all youngsters are there. Aditya Roy Kapoors and all those people are there. They're very young people. Yeah. And don't talk of Madhuri Dixit. She's very old. Of course, they are very old. As per your age, I will not talk of Madhuri Dixit. The idea is, I'm not talking about them. You understand what I'm speaking? You have been able to focus on a movie for 3 blessed hours. You have not even seen what popcorn you are eating. You're looking at the screen like this and eating. You don't even know. Sometimes, the popcorn is sweet. Sometimes it is something else only. You got the answer. So concentration you have done. So don't tell me you are not concentrated. So in Krishna's words over here, concentrate your mind. Do you remember I told you there is one image which you keep in front of you? I said these words. Can you just keep on looking at that image? Just look at the image. From top to bottom, doesn't matter. You can look at his eyes, doesn't matter at all. You want to look at his legs, look at them. You want to look at his feet, look at them. You want to look at his flute, nothing like it. Please do. So, concentrate the mind. Controlling the functions of the mind and senses. So when your eyes are focused on that, your ears are also focused on that, and you are listening to music. The basuri is playing music in your ears. Concentration is like that. Don't think about your office at that time, please. Otherwise, you'll say, no, oh my God, I had to submit that thing. Yeah, I should have done it. And suddenly you get a message. Are you joining this meeting or not? So, I completely forgot there was a meeting just now. Online meeting, Forget it. Sit in concentration. Focus your mind. And you got the point? Focus. Do deep meditation. Guruji, I don't know how to meditate. Doesn't matter. Go to sleep. But don't fall down like this, okay? Otherwise, you'll hurt your head or something. I'm joking. What it means is at least you got to try a little bit, isn't it? So you are the modern yogi. Okay. So, controlling the functions of the mind and the senses, he should practice yoga for self-purification. Whatever you are doing is only for purifying yourself, not somebody else. Got the answer? Krishna's ways of telling you what to do and how to do is described over here. You don't need to go to some fancy locations. You don't need to learn some fancy yogas. Nothing. He is not so far told you anything. Has he said that? Follow some Babaji somewhere or some yogi somewhere. No, he's not even said anything like that. If you have a guru, nothing like it. Ask him how to sit for meditation. Ask him. Guruji, please tell me how to sit for meditation. Okay. Guruji will ignore you. You are sitting in front of Guruji. Guruji is going to ignore you. And then automatically you will go in meditation. Because you see, if you are bored, if somebody doesn't look at you, you get bored with it, isn't it? And then you go in meditation also. The useless fellow, he doesn't even look at me. I don't know what I'm doing over here. But you can't get up from there because there is audience around you. So, do you get the point? Sit in meditation. Meditation is not some rocket science, okay? Not a rocket science at all. There is nothing that you got to do. Just meditate on that feet of Krishna if you want to. Like I said, you can do it on his flute. Doesn't matter. Just think, I am going to be in that flute. Or maybe I am the flute, he is going to play me. Doesn't matter. When you look at his feet, think that, oh, I am the chappal in his feet maybe. This is the way you can meditate. So we have done 3 verses so far. We are going to do a certain amount of technicality in the coming week, which is how you do it. Okay, sitting posture and how you do it, we will discuss a little bit technical. At that time, if you join, you will get a certain understanding of how these gods work within your body. Alright, so we have come to the end of verse 12. Next time we will do verse 13 onwards. You take care, you have a great day today, and see you all in the evening if you want to join, or any other day. Bye.